You know what they don't tell you at time of diagnosis? It's that you're going to grieve this life that you're still living. But that's exactly what Parkinson's does. And today I'm going to share the truth that I wish I would have heard this way back when I first got diagnosed. And stick around to the end because I'm going to share the one thing that helped me move forward when I thought that I couldn't. All right. Well, welcome to the channel. My name is Bryce. I want to thank all my loyal viewers for coming back and listeners for coming back. You know, we've just exploded here and I couldn't be happier. This is just makes my heart jump and excited. So if you're new here, my name is Bryce and this is Life in Motion, the Parkinson's podcast. So, and this channel, this podcast, it's all about providing strength, hope, and support to individuals living with Parkinson's disease and their caregivers. I share motivational stories, tips, and insights to help you navigate life with Parkinson's. So if you're looking for this type of content, make sure that you subscribe because today, this is going to be a good one. It's grieving the life you thought that you'd have. Okay? Grieving the life you thought you'd have. And again, at the end, I'm going to share something that just might help you on those really hard days. Okay, so as you know, when people hear the word grief, they usually think of death. Right? But there's another kind of grief, and that one we don't talk about enough. And it's the grief of a life you thought that you'd have, the future you were planning, the version of yourself that you expected to be. And with Parkinson's, that grief doesn't hit, it doesn't hit all at once, does it? It creeps in. Little things start to change. You start losing energy, mobility, and a little bit of independence. And that's when all of a sudden you start to realize that you're just not adjusting to this new normal. You're actually starting to grieve something. And that hits hard. So if you're struggling, right? You're struggling trying to come to grips with this diagnosis. You just can't put it all together. Right? You're actually grieving. And you're grieving the life that you thought that you were going to have. Okay, the one that you thought, the plans you had, the future that you were having, right? This disease, this Parkinson's comes in, it just starts to, or it feels like it's going to start robbing it, okay? Robbing it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you today, okay? So before Parkinson's, I had plans, right? I had ideas about life, what life was going to look like, what work was going to look like, what my travel, the travel I was going to do, what my family, how I was going to be with my family. And even I had dreams or thoughts about how I was going to grow old. I mean, I didn't want to grow old. I still don't want to grow old. I want to be young forever. Don't we all? Come on. Come on, somebody. But, we think about it, right? But when Parkinson's shows up, it doesn't just affect your body. It starts to mess with your identity. That's huge. My identity at the time was probably a lot wrapped in my career first and family, identity in my career, my family. So I had to give up parts of my career, which meant I was giving up part of my identity, part of what I was living for. I had to shift my roles in relationships. I had to be a dad differently. I had to be a husband differently. I had to be a son differently. And I had to let go of that version of myself that I really liked. Okay. I had to let go of that version I really liked. And what version is that, you asked? Well, thanks for asking, because I'll tell you, the one that could go nonstop. I never missed a beat. I could go nonstop. I could go 100 miles a minute and I could multitask and I was just on fire, right? It was like all gas, no brakes. And I had to start grieving that I couldn't do that anymore. I used to joke that I have ADHD, and I think I probably do. I'm not sure, but I probably do. But I could literally go into a restaurant, and I could be having lunch with you, and I could be having lunch, and we could have this great conversation. And at the same time, I had this innate ability to hear what was going around me or going on around me. I could tell what they were talking about next to the table over here and what was going on over there. And, I'd probably stop and say, oh my gosh, they're getting divorced over here. And holy smokes, this guy's doing something over here at work that he probably shouldn't be doing. And yet I could still be focused on what you were saying. And I don't know, maybe, is that weird? I mean, it sounds weird I'm saying out loud. If it's not weird and you had this superpower, let me know. But obviously, I lost that. Multitasking is not something that goes well with Parkinson's. It's not something that works very good with Parkinson's. It doesn't work. Let's just put it that way. You can't. It is almost impossible to multitask with Parkinson's. So it's weird. But because on the outside, like you're saying, You look great, you look normal, everything's fine. Why are you changing? Nothing's happening here, nothing's going on. But on the inside, I was saying goodbye to a version of me that felt like it was just slipping away. And if I'm being honest, that probably hurt more than any stiffness or tremors or my toes curling up. It was tough. It was really tough to kind of walk away from that identity because there's so much fear involved in that. Fear of what is it going to look like? What is it going to be? How bad is it going to get? How fast is it going to get? And so those things were just starting to consume and consume, and you just have to start all of a sudden realizing that. Right? Do you feel that way? And like, is that making sense? Have you felt that way in the past? And have you gotten over it, which is great. I hope you did. But again, stay tuned to the end. Stay with me here because I'm going to share this mindset shift at the end that changed it all for me. Okay. That changed it all. Okay. Because here's the wild part. Letting go made space for something new. Right? You don't think of it that way. You think I'm letting go. I'm letting go of these things. It'll never be the same. But what I didn't realize is when I let go of something, it opened up for something, right? When I stopped chasing what I used to be and I started discovering what still could be. Okay, let me say that again. I stopped chasing what used to be and I started discovering what could still be. I began to share my story. I started connecting with other people living with Parkinson's. And I started to realize I still have a purpose and I still have a voice. Like this podcast, this wasn't part of my original plan, but it's now become like one of the most meaningful things that I've ever done. I love it and I love connecting. I love building community and I love hanging out with you in the comments and I love that I'm doing something and maybe helping in a way, any way I possibly can. Now, important thing to note, the grief doesn't end. It just changes shape. But so do we. Now, I don't want to sugarcoat anything. Parkinson's is hard. Okay. I make fun. I make jokes. I laugh about it. I do those motivational minutes every morning, or I try every morning. I apologize. I missed a couple lately, but it's been, I got Parkinson's, right? Anyway, but just because I'm happy, not happy, just because I'm happy, what am I telling you? I am happy. Just because I'm happy, but because I'm excited, because I'm not looking down at the stuff that's bothering me, not looking right now that my back is absolutely killing me right now. And it's just one of those things. I'm having one of those days. Okay. So I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. And when I talk about mindset, when I talk about like how you're going to perceive something or how you should be thinking of something, that does not by any means, now I want you to really get this. It does not by any means mean that I'm not sore, I'm not stiff, I'm not bothered, I don't have bad moments and bad days. So I want to be really clear about that. Okay. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Like Parkinson's is tough. It's hard. And if you're newly diagnosed, it's going to be okay, right? You're going to go through some challenges, but you'll be okay. And no matter where you are on the journey, what's really interesting is that we talk about being diagnosed and first diagnosed, and we just don't know what's coming, right? We're quite sure. We're trying to figure it out. We're hitting the keyboard. We're Googling everything we possibly can, watching podcasts, doing everything we can. Well, what's interesting is because it's a progressive disease, okay, and that we really don't know how fast or where it's going. It's kind of like we're always being diagnosed. If you think about it, we're always searching. We're always trying to figure out what's this new thing. What's this new thing? I mentioned it on, I think it was last podcast or maybe a couple videos ago that I'm getting hearing aids. They're not in yet, but I'm getting hearing aids, and that's new for me, right? And so my first question is old age or Parkinson's, and I'm starting to do some research, and I'm getting excited to share a video with you, and some things I'm learning about how our hearing is connected to Parkinson's, or Parkinson's affects our hearing, I should say. But anyway, so we're always learning. We're always trying to find something new. And I encourage you, and I would say this, be vigilant. Diligent? Oh my God, what vigilant? Oh Lord. Okay, be diligent, right? With keeping yourself up to date and educated. Right? Stay connected here. I will do my best to give you the latest, the greatest things that I hear, things that I've come across, and I'll make sure that I feed them down to you. So, and again, if there's anything ever out there that you're wondering about or you're questioning about and you can't find answers, shoot me a comment, or ask me a question, send me an email, DM me on Instagram, whatever you need to do, and let me know, and I'll do my best to help you. And if it's something that everybody's asking about, then I'll definitely make sure I work it into the podcast. Okay. So I'm going to be honest, right? It's given me some things that I never expected, right? It slowed me down. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes I don't hate it, but it's actually a good thing. It slowed me down because, and when I did that, it deepened my relationships. It's made me more present, more empathetic. I've met people I never would have crossed paths with otherwise. I mean, you know what? I've met the best people in this community, the people with Parkinson's and their caregivers and people that have a heart for them. You're amazing. I mean, this is like an amazing group of people. So I never, I mean, it's a blessing, really. I've laughed, sometimes at the most ridiculous symptoms because really, what the hell else can you do, right? I've cried, I've grown, and maybe most of all, I've learned what actually matters. And it's not what I thought it was going to be. It really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And, that's where, I'll share again this thing that helped me climb out of my lowest point. And that's what I want to share with you right now. Here it is. So here's the thing that's helped me the most. It wasn't a medication. It wasn't a routine or some miracle supplement. It was letting go of the pressure to bounce back and learning simply to be where I am. I'll say it again. It was letting go of the pressure to bounce back and learning to simply be where I am. They always say, like, you get knocked down, you get back up again. Get knocked down, you get back up again. I got knocked down, okay? And instead of just jumping right back up, it's like, wait a minute, where am I now? What's happening? And let me understand this. And then it slowed things down, okay? So to say that this version of me is still worthy, right? Think about that. This version of me is still worthy. Even if I move slower, even if I'm tired, even if my dreams look different now, my future looks different now, I'm still me and I'm still valuable. So if you're listening to this and you're in the middle of grieving, whether you're grieving a diagnosis or maybe you woke up this morning and something's changed or something's seeming different, so you're starting to grieve that. Let me say this. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're human. Grieving the life you thought that you'd have is a sign of strength, not failure. It means you love the version of life, right? It meant something to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't grieve it. And now you're finding your way through something brand new. It's okay to be sad, and it's okay to miss what was, and it's okay to dream again, even if the dreams look completely different or a little bit different. We may have not chosen Parkinson's, right? Who would? But we can choose how we show up in the face of Parkinson's. We can still create. We can still connect. We can still grow. We can still have a life that matters. We really can. I'm not going to get into it here, but I was married for a long, long time with, and unfortunately, that didn't work out. And I think did Parkinson's have something to do with it? It sure did. It sure did. I found myself 50 years old and single for the first time since I was like 20 years old. And I'm like, oh my God. First of all, I didn't know how to date. I didn't even know how to date, now. But then I started thinking about this. Who in the world is going to date a 50-year-old man with a disease that has no cure, that's progressive, that's going to get worse, that I can't promise what tomorrow's going to look like? Who in the world? Like, how's that even possible? This is impossible, I started thinking. It's impossible. But guess what? Guess what? I chose to say, like, I had a choice to make. If you think about it, think about what I just said. At that moment, I had a choice to make. Like, when I started having those thoughts, and they're awful thoughts. They really are. But I had a choice to make. I could either say, okay, forget it. Forget dating. I'm just going to, I'm not going to burden anybody. I don't want anybody's pity. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't have to talk about it. I don't want to have to do any of this stuff. I'm just going to stay single, and I could just stay there. I really could. But I don't want to live that way. Right? It's okay to be, like I said, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to miss what was. It's okay to be mad. You need to grieve. Your life's different, and it's going to be different. But it doesn't mean it's going to be awful. It doesn't mean it's going to be bad. Okay? So I had to make a choice. And my choice was, I'm going to live. I'm going to live. I'm going to dream again. I'm going to see what those dreams look like now. And thank God I did. Thank God I chose to to show up in the face of it. Thank God I chose that to still go, to still grow, to still want something, to still desire life, to still want, something. I want to be happy, man. I mean, I'm good now. I'm things are not as good as they were, whatever you want to call it, like physically, but I'm good. And I want to enjoy my time. And thank God, because yesterday I celebrated my first year anniversary. Yeah. Yeah. My first year anniversary. Never thought I'd be married again. And actually said I'll never get married again. But when you know, you know. And I'm so extremely fortunate and so happy. And I'm so glad that I got off the couch and said, you know what? I may have Parkinson's, but Parkinson's does not have me. I am not going to let it control my life. And neither should you. Okay? Wow. Well, you know what? If this episode resonated with you, please share it. Send it to somebody who might be carrying some quiet grief. Maybe somebody that is feeling down, and let them know that they're not alone. And if you've been grieving the life that you thought that you'd have, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. I really would. What's something that you've had to let go of, right? And what have you found in the process? Let's talk about it. All right, so here you go. Thanks for playing this long. Please like this video. It really will help it push it out to more people that need it. And subscribe for more real talk and real hope. All right, so this was Life in Motion, and we're doing this together. And until next time, you keep showing up. You're doing way better than you think.